Viewers, you're welcome to Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We this day are going to be looking at the Anglophone crisis, asking the question: who is resisting calls for an end to the ongoing violence rocking the two English-speaking regions of the Southwest and Northwest regions? We also are going to be asking whether it was necessary for Cameroon to borrow an extra 55 billion francs CFA for the completion of the works at ongoing at the Olembe Sports Complex in Yaoundé, earmarked surely to host the opener of the African Nations Cup that Cameroon is expected to host next year. We are going to be discussing these two topics with our panelists. Two of them are already in the house. Mohamedou Suleiman is here with us. He is a militant of the Social Democratic Front, militating in Kumba, chief town of Kmer Division, the Green City. We're glad to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kum. Thank you for being on board. Greetings to our fellow listeners outside there. Greetings to the members in the house. We have converged again in the studio of Prime Hour to discuss about some of the fervent issues, silent issues affecting our country.
Also with us in the studio is, for the first time, Numbose Innocent. He is representing the Popular Action Party. We're glad to have you. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening to you, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you, dear televiewers. Good evening to you, dear panelists. I'm glad to be here today to share my thoughts with Cameroonians, so we can all forge to look for a solution to this crisis that has heated our country. Thank you.
Okay, we also are in the company of Tamai Jarvis, who is already seated out here with us. We are glad to have you once again, Jarvis.
Good evening, Leonard. Good evening to Chairman Nijon Fundi. Good evening to Maurice Kamto. Good evening to Barrister Ashu. Good evening to Prince Ikoso. And good evening to President Pobia and all political leaders and businessmen and women out there. Courage, brothers and sisters, do not stumble.
Okay, we are expecting the arrival into our studios of the representative of the CPDM party as sent by their party. Also expecting to receive Professor Mark Anthony, who is supposed to be part of the panel this evening. I will start with you, Suleiman. The government, every day we hear government ministers saying that they want the conflicts ongoing in the Northwest and Southwest regions to end. Are they doing enough to getting the conflict to an end?
Yeah, what I would say here is this. Peace is priceless. You don't buy peace. Everybody wants peace. Because without peace, you cannot go to school, you cannot go to the market, you cannot go to the hospital, you cannot go to your farms, you can't do anything. Peace is supreme and paramount. Okay. Everybody wants peace. Therefore, if people are, if the government or people are clamoring for peace to come so that this crisis should be resolved, it's a positive step taken in the right direction. But who is going to rule? Who is going to set the ball rolling first? That is the point. On the part of Amba, there are a lot of contradictions and confusion. There are those in the diasporas are talking. Those in the bushes are talking. Sesoko is there incarcerated. Our incarcerated. Where do we start to talk about this peace? The government too has its own centralized and synchronized policy that doesn't want that policy to be changed, to be shaken. The decentralization policy of government. That's when the pitch attend. Anything that we are talking, if we are going against decentralization, they will not be part of it. So now, where is the meeting point? Where are we going to converge so that we talk, we discuss amicably, so that we can arrive at an amicable solution to the problem?
Yeah, when you say who is going to set the ball rolling, you're saying the government has not done enough when the President of the Republic asked those carrying guns to put them down and embrace peace. When we know that there was the holding of the major national dialogue in Cameroon and a host of others.
Yeah, I agree with you that when the president announced the grand national dialogue, everybody was happy. I was in this studio when the announcement was made. Until I give salute, I give a military salute, because I thought that was a positive step taken in the right direction to redress and resolve some of the contending and contentious issues affecting this crisis. But unfortunately, when we met in Yaoundé, the dialogue was presided by the parliament chief of the Barombis and the Prime Minister of the Republic, John Bute. The positions of the Anglophone were not respected at all. The Anglophone delegate came there with a programmed mentality, both from the northwest and southwest, that they wanted but federal system. They want a federal structure, which the government too on its own part stood for decentralization. So there's conflict. And that is the problem killing us in this country. Though in the Anglophone section, you have some people who are fighting for separation, others are fighting for federalism. So again, here again, there must be some agreement, a meeting point where those for secession and those for federalism must come together and talk.
Yeah, but submissions were made to the Prime Minister before the actual major national dialogue that took place, and these submissions were made by the governors leading delegations for the northwest and southwest regions. I did not hear them talk about federation.
I don't agree with you that the governor of the southwest region is from Bam Ekim. He's from Bam Sheble in Tui. That he comes from Central region, and that's somebody who called us dogs. And that's what that person cannot lead such a genuine delegation that will promote, protect, and defend the interests of the Anglophones. It's too suspicious. That of the Northwest is the same thing. These are people of the government. These are people of the government. They cannot go against the government. They cannot challenge the government. They only toe the line. So I think, Mr. Kum, if we want to genuinely and sincerely talk about this Anglophone issue, there must be a meeting point. There must be a third party where we have to see all the contending issues, the contentious issues. We have to discuss them objectively, rationally, transparently, without fear or favor. And if we do that, I think we have taken a positive step in the right direction.
Okay. Now, Tamai Jarvis, he's raising the issue of the government. He's asking who is supposed to set the ball rolling, because the premise on which we are discussing today is that so many calls have been made from almost every corner that we want peace, we want an end, we want the de-escalation of the violence, but seemingly nothing is moving. That is why I'm asking why, who does not want an end to the ongoing conflict, but are you also of the opinion that the government is not has not set the ball rolling towards that direction?
Technically, you will see it's like selling a goat and having the rope. As far as that question is concerned, if you look at this conflict which started 4 years ago, we'll say that from the beginning the government had never had good faith, but gradually the government shifted grounds by acknowledging, by creating commissions, by even coming up with a major national dialogue. There have been a kind of solutions which have been proposed, but who is against this dialogue? On their first question, I think the war entrepreneurs from both sides are against the dialogue, are against the resolving this conflict, are against even meeting, because if you see what we have from the consultative talks prior to the major national dialogue, from the Fako division to Mehmet division, to all the nooks and crannies within the southwest region as a whole, all the others within the northwest region, I quite remember all of them talking one word: federations in different forms. Some said a 10-state federation. The delegations that met with the governor of the southwest region at the Boya Council Hall all talked about federations, a 10-state federation. So some said 2-state federation, some said 4-state federation. And the same similar situation in northwest region of Cameroon. But during the one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister, with the various governors and delegations, it was like a total switch from federation to decentralization. Then we started hearing decentralization. And now coming to the level in which we are today, I will tell you that the government is like selling a goat with a rope and having pulling the rope back. You cannot say you want dialogue in which you are not open to the tenets of dialogue. During a conflict like this, as a negotiator, there are things you must put in place. One of the things you must put in place is that you acknowledge the fact that you as a government, you have a superior hand. You are bound by conventions. These guys are not bound by conventions, and you are bound by rule of law. These guys are not bound by the rule of law. Not to say that they cannot be held responsible because they are not bound by the rule of law. No, they can be held responsible. But as a government, you ask yourself that, okay, what's the first step it takes? The first step is acknowledge that there is a problem, acknowledge that both sides have a problem, acknowledge that you must sit and discuss as brothers and sisters, and acknowledge that solutions maybe you have been put in have not been effective. But when we look at where we are today, it all began by denial. Everybody was saying there's no Anglophone crisis. Everybody was saying this and that and that. Even when the government held the Major National Dialogue, we're expecting that after the outcome of the Major National Dialogue, there will be a kind of shift in policy in terms of really looking at the failures of the Major National Dialogue, and even if you don't want to convene a dialogue, then you can address some of the criticisms that were made, but which is not the case. One, you acknowledge the problem. Two, you map out strategies as who are those stakeholders who are causing the problem. Three, you get to talk to them. Four, you get to establish a communication network where you can be mutually exchanged. I think, Mr. Leo, with that regard, the government in itself is selling the goat and having the rope. The same thing with the armed separatists. The armed separatists themselves, to me, they are not willing to solve this conflict, because no matter how you stand on a position, you cannot be permanent on a particular position. But one thing I acknowledge that these people have in common, the lowest common multiple, what we used to call in primary school the LCM, is that they are all looking for the common interest of they are looking for the interest of the common man. That is, the common man should have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, balanced development, growth, and opportunities. But they are using different routes. This person is saying it must be done to federation. This person is saying it must be done to effective decentralization. The day that all these two parties will come to their senses and understand that they are fighting for the same goal, I think we will a bit shift from where we are today.
Okay, Professor Mark Anthony is in the house with us. Professor, good evening and welcome. I will start also by asking you the question as to who is holding that rope that would push both parties forward, so that definitely a solution is found to the crisis plaguing the southwest and the northwest regions.
Good evening, Leo, and to my fellow panelists and to our million viewers out there watching at us. That question is a very pertinent question at a time like this, considering the fact that we have seen different attempts to resolve a conflict that actually started like a joke, which was practically mismanaged from the beginning, and it has resulted to a full-blown war where we keep seeing lives taken each day. The question we should be asking, like you just asked, is who is resisting? Who is that person holding the rope? I would say, Mr. Leo, maybe we cannot point fingers and locate individuals with names, but certainly we are able to tag individuals based on the different activities that we see behind it happening. From both sides of this particular situation, we have armed separatists who are unwilling to see that this thing comes to an end, as well as we have government officials who are sitting behind there making sure that this thing does not come to an end. They fuel it in different ways. When there seems as if calm wants to return, something happens in order to fuel the thing and to radicalize more young people. And when you look at it, you realize that for example, when I look at the situation that just happened of recent, for a while we have heard that Lebialem was cold, and suddenly we heard that 3 chiefs were actually assassinated at the market square in front of their own subjects. That is really terrible. Look at the video that we saw the other day in Du, where a young man was actually molested, barbaric. In fact, he underwent through barbaric beatings from the professional military who are supposed to be protecting him. Even if that individual was caught and he was an Ambazonia, as the thing seems to be, as people seems to be claiming, even if he was supposed to be arrested, there's law in this nation, he should be brought to justice. You don't beat an individual in that kind of manner. And when that happened, Mr. Leo, you just get to realize that Ndu has been a place that has been quiet for a while. Then all of a sudden, such an act comes up. What do you think is happening? That's a means to actually radicalize more young persons. And like that, I also want to believe that there are some individuals who are gaining behind this. They sit wheresoever they are, and they benefit from when the crisis is ongoing. They don't want it to end. I might not be able to point a name, give a name, this person or that person, but Mr. Liu, it is certain from both sides there are individuals who do not want it to end. And as long as they don't want it to end, they are going to keep fueling it in different ways and keep pulling up with it, deceiving even that solutions have come. We have brought these solutions for this particular issue. When we go back, look at when it started, when Gogomo was sent to Bamenda to negotiate with teachers and lawyers. We remember at a particular point he just got up and said, it is enough is enough, it's ended here, enough is enough. And then he said the government is going to respond. And the response of the government was a military solution at the end of the day. That's just to make you understand that such individuals are out there not to make sure they solve the problem. He was sent to go solve a problem. He went, he could not negotiate, he could not solve the problem. He came on a high horse. And that is what has been happening all this while. Okay, let's go back and see the Musonge commission that was sent. When he went to the Northwest, he came, he said the people said they want federation. I remember the chiefs of the Southwest.
No. He said they wanted autonomous, decentralized regions. He did not talk of.
Well, the way he puts it, it's autonomous.
Yes, regions.
Regions.
And not federation. Yeah.
The only way an autonomous region can operate in Cameroon is only through federation.
I remember there was a tussle between some chiefs from the Southwest.
From the Southwest. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, but they were rather going against what you are saying.
That they do not want federation?
No, they said what you are saying was their position, but what was presented
was against.
Yeah, but so you are not saying what they said.
No, the chiefs wanted federation.
Yeah, they said they came with that, but
the government.
They said the person you are quoting says decentralization.
He said decentralization.
Yes,
but I believe that the people asked for federation, then they went behind and presented something else. Which is where there's a problem, Mr. Leo.
Okay.
They don't have good faith.
Yes, Mr. Innocent. Who is holding the strings?
Talking about who is resisting call to the end of this crisis. Looking keenly, we see that the crisis have come to a complicated state.
Okay.
And now the both parties are very much interested in feeding themselves, making themselves fat from the crisis. Can you imagine people who are there saying that they are fighting for the people, for the interests of the people? They have turned themselves against the people. We have parliamentarians who are elected by the people to represent them wherever is due and talked on their behalf. But yet, the Parliament of Cameroon has been very eloquent in his silence concerning the Anglophone crisis. Now, on the part of the separatists are reacting to the actions of the government. Because sincerely, we see that the government has provided Kearney Nicodemus-like solution to the problem. They have deviated from the root cause of the problem. They don't want to face the root cause of the Anglophone crisis. And that is why they are presiding over atrocities into leading this country into chaos. So, on both sides, they are both responsible. And this is a neo-colonialist agenda targeting the youth of this country. Because the Amber fighters and the militaries dying are young Cameroonians. Mr. Leo, I have a dream that one day, the Amber fighters and the militaries, they will meet at war front, drop their weapon, embrace themselves, and face the real enemy. We have gone through a lot, Mr. Liu. I am a witness of this crisis. The crisis started when I was in the University of Buea. Due to this crisis, it gives me academic delay.
I was in Buea also, but is the problem not also at the level of the winnability of the war, where everybody think that I must win? Is that not where the problem is? When we know that it is almost practically difficult to win a war, nobody wins the war.
Yeah, that is true. I agree with you that that win factor is militating in the minds of both parties.
I would not want to be seen as having
As a
lost
weak
the war.
person.
Yes.
I don't want to be seen as a weak person. I want to win the war. But that is if we want genuine reconciliation, genuine restructuring of the system. We have to, that win-win thing should be kept aside. It should be kept aside because you see, if you look at the Biafran war, if you look at the Biafran war, I want to ditch Ojukwu into going to that war. Because Awolowo saw that the Igbos were controlling businesses in Western Nigeria, where he is Prime Minister. Even the Western Regional House of Assembly, he saw that there were Igbos representing NC inside Western Regional Assembly. That was eating Awolowo. Awolowo did not know how to send them out because of the economic power they control in Western Region. That gave them to go into Western Regional House of Assembly. But when Ojukwu came and met Awolowo, said, let us balkanize Nigeria into three. Let us divide Nigeria into three. Let the Hausa Fulani go their own. Let the Western, let the Yoruba go their own. Let Igbo go their own. I will see what a brilliant idea. Go and do it. I will go and declare Biafra. If you declare Biafra, I will declare Oduduwa Republic. No mean that Awolowo was telling Ojukwu because he gave him condition. If you want to declare Biafra, make sure that all southeastern Nigeria, Igbo, Calabar, Efik, Ebibio should resign for all activities in Western Nigeria and go back to the country. That's when I would declare Oduduwa Republic. Ojukwu accepted. Ojukwu went and declared Biafra. All those Southeasterners, they resigned and went back home into the new country, thinking that will follow him. After all they have gone, all Awolowo replaced all Yoruba people, all Awolowo stood say, I'm for one Nigeria, indivisible and indissoluble. That's how the North and the West now fought Igbo, and that enmity up to today is there between the Igbos and the Yorubas. The Yoruba prefer a non-Nigerian to rule than an Igbo man to rule because of that enemy, because of that enmity. Now, finally, what happened? When Gawan came, Gawan said, no, there is no victor, there is no vanquish. Nobody has won the war. Let's go for peace.
Santa, you are going to continue. Santa Ibrahim, you are asking what the topic is. The topic is right there before you. We are asking who is playing the role of a stumbling block to ending the ongoing conflict rocking the southwest and northwest regions. And also special greetings to you, Martin T, my brother who is watching from Germany, and to you, Prince G. Prosper, Sheila Bright, and Patrick and Tisak, and all of you watching on social media. Special greetings to you. Yeah.
So what we should do is that let there be somebody who will say there is no winner, there is no loser, there is no vanquish, there is no victor, there is no vanquish. Let's go and meet in the round table and discuss our problem. We are Cameroonians. Cameroonians are killing Cameroonians. What for? Because of power. We have to meet somewhere and talk. If we don't trust ourselves, if we are genuine, let's call a third party to be there so that we talk it out. Let the Amber Boys know that a lot of bloodshed has been pushed out from people. They have kidnapped people, they have beheaded people, they have killed people, they have done all sorts of things. On the other side, the army too, they have done down atrocities. Innocent lives have been lost, people's houses have been burned down, all these allegations. But there must be a meeting point that we have to talk. And those in the diaspora, those in the bushes, including Seseko, should meet, and all those Anglophone detainees, they should come together. Let us discuss this thing. We are all Cameroonians. We are bound to disagree to agree, but we have to meet somewhere and talk this matter. But if everybody say, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win, it's a wasted effort. It's an effort in futility. Nobody is going to win the war. Only catastrophic calamities, and people are dying every day. So there must be a meeting point somewhere.
Okay, Ekoge, greetings to you too, and to you, Mbela Bruno, watching from the United Arab Emirates. Now, how do we, side our egos and believe that nobody wins a war after all?
It's a difficult thing to do. Well, keep aside emotions. The role of the president is to set a strategy to a war.
To win the war.
To win the war. The role of the military is to win the war. Clear. Keep aside emotions. No state in the whole world will a president decide not to bind itself by that constitution. But however, there's a backdoor to that. However, should a president look at the future of the state and realize that in as much as a constitution tells that president defend this territory from internal terrorism, internal wrangling and external wrangling, if you realize that the future of your state is at stake, there's that tenet that you go back to your parliament and your parliament pass a resolution to uplift or remove that power to fight that war so that you pursue a peaceful way of resolving it. And that is where the Parliament of Cameroon comes in and the Senate comes in. Because as far as the status quo remains, the president is and the military, they are aligning themselves to the constitution. You will not blame them. But now, who we should be blaming are the lawmakers who have that powers now to go back, sit in the parliament, deliberate on this, pass a resolution and say, hey, yes, we understand that this is what is happening. Let's keep aside this use of force and move for an effective way to discuss on this. That is what the parliament is supposed to do. I think I was very happy when I watched a program with Senator Kmer, whom he said if the Senate keep going the way it is now, if he was to be the president, he will dissolve it. Because in this present dispensation, it is the role of the Senate and the Parliament to prop into the Anglophone crisis and stop it now, as far as the legal mechanism is concerned. Without that, you will not expect the President of the Republic to say, hey, stop the ceasefire, or to deliberately call for an emergency ceasefire and say, okay, don't fight this, don't do this. The Constitution give him that prerogative. I'm not saying that it is the right thing he's doing. I'm just saying that let's keep aside emotions. Coming now to the practicality of what should be done so this far, it is the role of the Speaker of the House of Assembly, the role of the Senate President to come together and ask themselves that within these 4 years, what have we achieved as far as this war is concerned? Nothing. We have achieved nothing but the killing of the beautiful men and women in uniform and the boys who are already inside the bushes and those who are innocent who are caught between the lip and the dab. Looking at the statistics, Mr. Liu, as far as war is concerned, during the First World War, 9 of 10 people killed are military and those fighting. After the First World War, with the emergence of different techniques, 9 of those killed now after the First World War from recent statistics are civilians, and 2% of 10, I'm talking about of 10 killed are those fighting. So at the end of the day, who are we losing? The innocent civilians are dying every day and every day. So we should at this point in time understand that if you have a member of parliament in your constituency, it is your role to ring his phone from Monday to Sunday. It is your role to ring their phone from Monday to Sunday. Looking at where we are today, that this party is saying that I don't want to feel like weak. I don't want to feel weak. That I'm calling for ceasefire. It is not weakness for you to call for ceasefire, as far as this is concerned. But the Constitution gives the president of this republic and the president of any country, Mr. If you were to be the president today, you defend the Constitution. Let's keep aside emotions. I know that once I'm talking, a lot of people are saying that, hey, no. When it comes to diplomacy and fact, we must speak the truth for Cameroonians to understand that this is a reality. But I'm not in any way saying that that is what should be. There's always a backdoor. And as far as this conflict is concerned, if you look at what we've been from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, the government is not doing enough, and the non-state armed groups are not doing enough. Why? Because we have the war entrepreneurs. The war entrepreneurs at both ends have decided to play by this to play by the war. So that's why again you see the parliament is very important. Until the parliament will sit up, Mr. Leo, because every international community, you keep hearing people talking about international community, Joe Biden and the rest. Before the international community directly or indirectly intervene into a conflict, they must have their interests at stake. The first thing they ask themselves, are our nationals safe? Second, the conflict that is going, will it be a breeding ground for terrorism in that area? Can it create a breeding ground for terrorists to come and plan and to attack America? If yes, they will come and intervene.
We are going to look at
the parliament and the senate and an extension of the executive of this country. They are powerless. They have powerless powers, because in this country, no bill comes from the opposition. All bills comes from the government, and nobody can dare in the senate or in the house to bring anything concerning Anglophone problem if it does not come from the government. This is clear. So our senators and our parliamentarians, they are just the window dressers, and they have powerless powers. They back, but they cannot bite.
Okay, good evening to you, my brother Augustin Ta, watching from Denmark, and to you, Roland Nwati, Ivo Vindunga, and to you, Frongwen Mirant, good evening to you, Asam Eyong, and to all of you watching us out there. Now, he raised the issue of war entrepreneurs. Is it the war entrepreneurs that are fueling the crisis, or the fact that each party to the conflict thinks that they are right, and that their reasons must or motivations must prevail?
Mr. Leo, the two are all the same.
Okay.
You have war entrepreneurs who are actually making a lot of money from behind the war going on, and as a result of that, they'll keep on fueling it to continue. As well as there's this nostalgia of being a loser. In fact, we want to appreciate the fact that we are winning. People have been living in failure for a long period of time. That's that nostalgia of failure. So they want to win something. And so they are doing everything possible to make sure they win. And that win-win aspect is a serious problem, because nobody wants to lower their bar. They want to keep on. They want to maintain a particular position and say, okay, this is what I came into this war with, and this is what I've been able to get out of this war. And you see, Mr. Leo, those are some of the issues, I will put it like that, because those are not limited, it's not limited to the two. Those are some of the issues that have maintained the situation in which we find ourselves in today. I started and I wanted to mention something. I said, in relation to what we have right now, when you go back from the start of this crisis, some people thought that the crisis actually started in 2016. But it's an HO crisis that had been boiling in Cameroon for a very long period of time. Based on the manipulation that the large public government has. It is a manipulative and deceitful government from the very start of this republic till today. That manner of leadership is the reason why people will always have problems in a community like this, where people do not live and have the ability to talk freely, when people are afraid. When you live like that in a community, you do not expect that for more than 60 years people will stay quiet. There will be a time when they will burst out, and that is just the situation that happened. I said the way these guys manage little crisis is the problem we have. If they could handle the small issue that started with teachers and lawyers, we would not have been here. But because they thought that they have the force, they are the ones that control the arms. Like I heard one minister mention the last time that the military has monopoly to violence. That is a statement that was very terrible when I heard that the military alone has monopoly to violence. It's really very terrible, dangerous. That is not a statement that we should maintain. When I heard that, Mr. Leo, I got bitter inside, very bitter.
Yeah,
so
I think what I don't know, but I think that in all nations, those who have legitimate rights, that is what is meant. There's no country where
that's what I was explaining. Why the military to win the war.
Mr. Leo, I am not
what the minister means. Sincerely, no.
Can I land?
No.
I will not go into it if you don't want me.
No. My role is to moderate. I don't want us to send a wrong message.
I'm not sending a wrong message.
What I am saying is that in the court, people gendarme means that they are armed carriers.
Amen.
Yes. So those with constitutional legal rights to carry arms in every nation are the military.
You are correct.
Anybody who takes up arms.
I have not refused that.
Yes, so if you are the president of the republic, you will say
No, I do not refuse that statement.
go on, yeah.
What I am saying is, maybe he used the wrong wordings. You can't say that they have the right to violence. It's wrong. You can talk of they have the right to arms. It's okay. But when you use violence, it is not the job of the military to be violent. The military is not supposed to be violent.
There's no war that is not violent.
Okay, and that is it. You now just mentioned that it's a war. So if it is a war, then they're supposed to be violent.
Yeah, but when you pick up arms, what's that? Is this a war?
That is the issue. So
Are you saying that America's intervention in Afghanistan was peaceful? It's violent, but they'll tell you that it's legitimate.
there's no legitimacy to war. There's no legitimacy to war, Mr. Liu. So when we make these errors and they keep boiling and bringing pain to the community, we sit behind and we say we are leading. We are not leading. My fingers are pointed towards the leadership, not on.
Are you saying Nigeria was wrong to have defended itself against Biafra?
No, it was not wrong.
You see, this is the issue.
Was it legitimate?
Mr. Liu, you are misquoting me, which I don't like. Legitimacy is not a problem. It is the pronunciation that the military has right to violence. It is wrong to use that kind of statement. We were not in a war situation. They provoked the war situation. Why didn't I'm sure he's the one who talk. They should have solved the problem instead of getting us into more pain. Let them solve the problem.
I want us to understand the context of what you're saying. Yes, Alice. Go on.
You look at it, like I was struggling to see a while ago.
Okay. Seemingly this is time, but I want us to move forward. Now, the population says we are tired of the war. If you go to Boya today, they will tell you we are tired. You go to Kumba, they are tired, and if you go to Yaoundé, they will tell you that we are tired.
Exactly. Even in Kumba, they are tired.
Yes, everybody says we are tired,
Yes.
but almost everybody is supporting either the government or the Amba boys.
Yes.
How do we understand that? We are all tired of war. We are either supporting Amba or supporting the government.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
we are tired of the war.
Yes.
They're not supporting anybody.
He says the government has the powers to fight the war. The president has the authority, the powers
By
constitution to fight the
To
war,
defend the territorial
integrity.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you: a war declared against his own people?
Are you answering my question?
Are you?
You're answering him?
No, let me learn.
No.
A war
Are you
declared
answering my
against his
question?
people? What do you mean by that? I want to understand you better. So, who has the legitimacy? Who has the power? Who has the ability to put an end to this crisis? Now, if the government says he is incompetent to put an end to this crisis because the crisis has overdue, showing that the government has proven in his weakness that he cannot put an end to this crisis, because they have shown a lot of bad faith with cosmetic solutions towards the resolution of this crisis.
Okay. Are you answering my question by saying what you're saying? I'm asking about the population. The population says
Now,
we're all tired.
The
But
population says they are tired of this war.
Yes, but
and they are
anybody
looking for a solution. Where is that solution coming from? Who will bring that solution to the population? It's a question all of us should answer, and we all know that that question is redirected to the incompetent authorities we have, because they have proven that without reasonable doubt that they are incompetent to handle this crisis. That is why the PAP and other political parties in Cameroon are telling Mr. Biya that he should resign peacefully and give way for competent authorities to handle this crisis, because these people are gradually leading this country into chaos.
No.
Population.
No. Let us allow him talk.
Okay.
You were speaking for some. No, I was trying to put you in context. No. I want him to. He should not say that because he's the youngest in the panel, and we are.
Now, everybody, the opposition, the international community, Cameroonians of goodwill, they have proposed a long-lasting solution
Yeah, but
to the government.
my question to
and
you-
why is the government running from this long-lasting solution?
My question to
the
you-
long-lasting solution is sincere and all-inclusive dialogue
Yeah.
in a neutral ground with a third party to mediate.
Yeah, but you are saying what almost everybody has been saying. My question is, what you are saying here now?
Now everybody has been saying this, and we know the government of Mr. Bia, because he acts under pressure. For 38 years now, this government has been in power. What good have they done to Cameroonians willfully?
One last question for
Every
you.
good thing that comes out from this government is out of
One last
pressure.
question for you.
So this is their strategy. This is the way they have put it before us. That we should.
Seemingly, you don't want to answer my question. Yes.
Yeah. When we talk about
The populations are tired. You see, we have to look at it from two angles.
Okay.
On the part of the Amber Boys, the Amber Boys are doing things that are scaring away the population. What the population envisaged from the start of the crisis from the Amber Boys was to fight and protect them, their rights, against the government. And again, the opposition, the military, the Amber Boys will not use arm as quickly as possible towards the military, because they will have shown the military the Anglo-Saxon system of behavior, that we are out for peace, we are out for tranquility, but not to fight war. But now the Amber Boys, they are even scaring their own population. There is arrest, there is decapitation, there is killing, there is asking for ransom. I mean, it's scaring away the people. The way they see the Amber Boys now, they don't see them as the true fighters who are going to promote, protect, and defend their interests, because they thought that the Amber Boys are going to protect their interests. But now the Amber Boys, some of them are going against the interests of the people whom they claim to protect and defend. That's one side. On the other side of the military are using excessive force. The military are not supposed to use excessive force. They're burning down houses, killing of innocent souls. The people are dying. You see, there is brutality, there is maltreatment on the part of the military. I mean, they too, they are over exercising maximum force, which prompted the Amber Boys to respond now with force, to respond now to hold arms and to face the military. So the maximum the exertion of force on the part of the military provoked the Amber Boys to hold arms to as a self-defense, to defend themselves in the face of the military. That's what it is. The people are tired. Both sides of the arms of the eyes are a problem. They are a problem, and the people are tired. And one last question: it was wrong for a minister to say the army has the monopoly of power. In the northwest and southwest today, nobody has the monopoly of violence in the northwest and southwest, because violence can be unleashed in several ways. Violence can be unleashed in several ways, and that is why you see when the Amber Boys speaks, if they talk in the southwest, people listen, because when the Amber Boys will meet you in your house, the military man will not be there to protect you.
People listen out of fear or out of conviction.
Yeah, out of fear, because they know that they're armed. They're armed. People are afraid they're armed. That's why I see the minister was wrong to say that the military has a monopoly of violence. Nobody has the monopoly of violence in the northwest and southwest as far as this crisis is concerned, because violence can be unleashed in several ways.
You saying that the population is helpless, they can't help, if because he was saying that it is the government that has to solve it, and the opposition parties.
The government is supposed to say the ball rolling, Mr. Akum. By telling that there's no victor, there's no vanquish. We are brothers, we are friends. Come, let us discuss. If it's reparation, we pay reparations. And I mean, that's how the government is supposed to behave.
Let me come now. He said that the president of the republic is supposed to step down. That is their position. As you know, power is not given now.
Yes, not given.
Which president will step down that, oh yeah, come and take my position?
No, power is not given. We are a democracy. You win the presidency through not advanced democracy. We are a democracy, and you win through elections. No matter how kangaroo the elections may look like, how window dressing or cosmetic it may look like, but again, at least people have voted. and somebody has to win. Somebody has won the election, and he takes over. He's sworn in, and he takes over the command of the country. Mr. Kum, there's one thing that we have to talk on here: the constitution of this country.
Okay.
That is the basis. We have to discuss on this. I rest my case.
Okay, we have to debate on this. The constitution. Where is it going to be debated? We should go to parliament now and overrun, at least have an obese opposition.
The constitution gave the president the overall.
That's what I'm saying. That they should go to parliament and then create an obese opposition majority.
No, we can form a constitution drafting committee. Okay. That would reflect the diverse nature of the Cameroonian society, the political parties. Everybody will be there so that we come with a rigid constitution, not this flexible that we have. The flexible constitution we're having, it didn't tamper anyhow, it toast anyhow. No, it's unacceptable.
The constitution is implemented only for the poor. Once it concerns the rich and the regime, the constitution can be manipulated anyhow. Tell me how the legislative power of the government and an order will come from the executive power of the government to put an end to a case in the legislative, in the judiciary sector of the government.
Okay.
Now, this shows that power has been centralized under
that's a different
a
topic.
string.
That's true. But to
that's a different
answer
topic.
this into Salio, the truth is that you should not forget our constitution is presents a presidentialist democracy where the president has practically all the powers. So if you have to judge the president, you must go back to the constitution, like he said. So it's not a presidential problem, it's a constitutional problem.
Okay, maybe when PAP takes over, we are going to move to a federation, and then the executive is no longer going to temper into the judiciary. Yes.
I think that the truth is let's keep aside emotions when we are talking about issues like this, because when we go emotionally, we will derail and definitely keep making the common man to live in an emotional perspective than feeling the reality of the ground. Even if Ayok Julius Siseko was the president of Cameroon today, he will abide by the constitution and he will still play the role. Even if Ayapola Bine was the president today of Cameroon, he will abide by the constitution, because during his swearing-in ceremony, during the swearing ceremony of the president, you hear the president says, I take upon myself, I do so swear to keep the constitution and keep the nation safe. Now, this is what is happening, that we are in a conflict today. The constitution, the president has a prerogative to define the constitution. Likewise, the members of the Senate take it up, they take upon themselves, and the parliament to take an oath to defend the interests of the state by seeing into it that when laws are obsolete or laws are repugnant to natural justice, they come into place and set a bill that will create that law, make that law flexible to the rules of the common man. Let's be clear, the role of the military is to win the war. The military has no two function. Either the military get killed or killed. That's what they call it in the military. If we were talking about the police, then I would say yes, the police are forces of law and order. If we were talking about the other forces, peaceful forces, yes, I would say that they are for law and order. But however, it doesn't still mean that there is not a backdoor for a president to redefine the strategy of winning that war. Winning a war may not necessarily mean that taking the combat on the ground. There is a phrase we always use in political science that when diplomacy fails, boots on the ground. And that boots on the ground goes to the context of the constitution, that when the president speaks all what he has to say and it doesn't reflect the reality, he has the power to go to war. And you will not expect Mr. Biya or President Biya to sit and say, hey, to rule the nation by emotion. No nation is ruled by emotions. No enterprise is ruled by emotion. All enterprises are ruled by bylaws. They are ruled by their laying principles. However the case may be, I hope that whenever PAP will be in power, they will institute, they will not respect the constitution and lay by what they think that is supposed to be in place. Now, coming to the context of this war and who is resisting the call for an end to the conflict, Mr. Liu, the bottom line is that the war entrepreneurs. And when I hear people, again, keep talking about we need a third party, we need a third party, we need a third party, they have not asked themselves what it takes for a third party to come in. Who sponsored the third party mediation? What is their alternative? What are their goals for the third party? If the third party is to come, Mr. Lo, before, if you look at what President Bush told Agol during their debate, I think that maybe sometime when this debate comes on, we just take it like a joke. They are defining international policies. And he said that George Bush said, for America to intervene in any war, there are things that America asks itself. First, is it in their best interest? Second, does that, where that conflict is existing, can it be a breeding ground for terrorists to come there and create a plan to come and attack U.S. or to attack U.S. institutions in that area? Third, if those two things are not in conformity, the third thing is, do they have oil there that they can take? If they defend that, they can take this oil and come to and enrich America. Fourth, do they have avenues where, okay, they can go there and defend that territory, and their businessmen and women can move to that area and establish and create wealth and bring back that wealth to America? These are the things that every intervention would have, or those who have intervened will take into consideration. So in as much as we are saying we need a third party, we are sacrificing the resources of this nation. To me, what I expect is that we should hold the parliament responsible. We should hold them responsible. We should start calling their names. We should start calling each constituency. Let's keep aside the myth that they are powerless. Yes, they could be powerless. Yes, they have the ability that they can restart and renegotiate their powers. For example, look at what happened in Dongamantu division. Look at what happened in Lebi Alem. In Dongamantu division, the guy that was tortured, how many parliamentarians in the entire northwest region came out as a force and said, no, we want one indivisible Cameroon, but not in that action. We want a prop. I think just
dissociate ourselves from such action.
Dissociate ourselves from such action. How many? Those are not action that you need to go to the parliament and debate. These are normal action that you have to denounce. The same thing in Lebi Alem, when chiefs were killed in Fako division, it was hell loose. We are not saying chiefs to be killed, but when those chiefs in Lebi Alem were killed, how many of these same elected officials have come out as in mass to say, hey, enough is enough, we don't want the killings of. You see that there's a segregation sympathy. That is why the war entrepreneurs have come in and are using it for their individual strategy. We have a segregated sympathy mood in this conflict. So the war entrepreneurs issue, until it is targeted, until it is handled, we will not go out of where we are today.
Now, Professor Mark Anthony, in the beginning of this conflict, we had a lot from NGOs, civil society organizations. Almost everybody was active. We want to engage in this. But for the past 1 year, they have evaporated into thin air. What is happening? Is it that the war situation is above them, or they also are joining the bandwagon of reaping from what is happening, the spoils of war?
Mr. Liu, I also run a civil society,
an NGO,
and I want to be clear about this issue, that there's a lot of intimidation in this country, and there is a lot of you have to say what we want, that you should say not what you think is right. And with that kind of system, it becomes difficult for people to air out their opinions and present what they think that should be done.
So the NGOs are afraid, if I get you?
Some of them are afraid to air their opinions. Some of them have retreated and they are sitting and watching. But I think it is necessary, because in a situation like this, the civil society has a lot of pressure to mount in order to bring things to order on both sides, because with the amount of death that we see every day, the number of military people dying, the number of Amber boys dying, and civilians dying, we can't fold our arms and sit and say that oh, maybe we are being intimidated by this or that. It is time to talk. There is this saying that I have, and I believe and hold on to, that if you say the truth, you will die. If you do not say the truth, you will die. So it is better to say the truth and die. When you hold the truth, let me say this: a person who knows the truth and keeps it, what you have done is you have sacrificed objectivity. And once you sacrifice objectivity, you are you are an immoral person. Morality is what is supposed to guide our society. And I want to speak again and say to our NGOs and civil society agents, if political parties are doing nothing, I think it is time for us to do something to mend this nation. Because if we don't do anything, at the end of the day, we will also be blamed, because you won't say that you were in Cameroon and things were happening and you sat and said nothing and you did nothing. We have seen how some have fought We saw how some of them went to prison for it. But we must keep on talking. When it is truth, truth does not have color. We have to say it the way it is without fear. Truth is truth. And Mr. Leo, I want to point something. If you look at what happened to maybe I was of recent, there's this how they call that, Abine's yes, Abine's foundation. Just see the way it died. It just disappeared to the background as if it was not. But that was one of the foundations that was wow at the front. But after a period of blackmailings, let me use those words, they disappeared. Because that is the only way to manhandle them. When they hold you at that point, at least if you want to check, you discover there were some dry bones also in the cupboard. So they had to retreat and stay quiet, because that's what I can.
But are still functional?
Being functional does not mean they are operating the way they were. If you realize and you notice, they were at the forefront, Mr. Liu. They were here everywhere. But recently, it seems as if it's no more. But as I said,
no, but that was just one foundation, or the foundation. We are talking about NGOs in Cameroon. When they say there is funding for this, you see hundreds of them will come out.
Mr. Lee, I still believe that NGOs are working. I was watching the other day. I saw there's this lady from whom what's her name again?
Madame
Bibiana. Look at what she did. Is that not part of the work of an NGO? She's doing her part, and she's not the only one. There are others still doing the same. So you can't claim that the civil society has just gone to the background.
You say you own an NGO.
I do.
You were in Balangi.
Must I be in Balangi to do my work? I must not be in Balangi to do what I'm supposed to be doing. You see, that's the issue. Mr. Leo, you seem to misunderstand.
You're working in Douala.
The NGO,
you're working in IDPC Douala.
No. The first thing you should know is the NGO is not a Cameroon.
It's an international.
Yes, an international organization. It's not focusing on Cameroon.
Okay, you mean your NGO?
Yes, it's not focusing.
The CEO is in Cameroon.
It doesn't matter.
Cameroon
doesn't matter. We are benefiting. I am sure you can claim, you can accept that at least Cameroon is benefiting one way or the other through it. If you want to know, we have projects that we need
to run. We need you in Kamer. We need you in Yasoso. We need you in.
We will be everywhere where we are needed, Mr. Lou. It is necessary for us to do our part and to make sure that the crisis comes to an end.
We need you in all these places.
We will be there.
If they blame MPs for not going down there.
They are the worst to be blamed, Mr. Leo.
Let's look at the political parties themselves. Now, political parties, you represent a PAP. Don't you think that there's need also, because somebody just wrote from Bomenda that this conflict has been dragging for so long, and seemingly people are confused on where to turn to. Are you people not also thinking of a common force? Because you talked about mounting pressure. If you exert one pressure, the government gets one. Exert one pressure, the government gets one. If you exert two, the government receives two. If you exert a collective of all the opposition parties, I'm sure the pressure on the government is going to be higher. Are you thinking about that?
Now, the reality about political parties in Cameroon is most political parties in Cameroon are subsets. Secondly, some of them are stomach-based politicians.
Wow.
They are not for the interest of their people. They are just out to air their voices and be compensated for that or be silenced for that, and they are contented. We have seen Cameroonians who came up as opposition leaders and later on they were caught and rewarded, and they became very eloquent in their silence, and they joined the train and clapping for the ruling CBDM party. So talking about political parties in Cameroon, we have very few opposition parties.
Yes, but the few whom you think are serious, why not create a collective platform to pressure government and also look at possibilities of talking to the other side as political parties to wanting to end this crisis?
No, political parties are doing their best. They have proposed solutions to the regime in power, that this is the roadmap to the solution to this crisis. And because of the nature of the regime, that has monopoly of wisdom and knowledge, who will not listen to any other person, who has hijacked Cameroon and make it their property, they will not listen to solutions from other people because they claim to have monopoly of knowledge. That is why till today the pressure seems nothing to them, because they think they have monopoly.
Now, if the government is not listening to you, are you also talking to the separatists? Because we are talking about a conflict that has two sides. Are you at least talking to those who are giving you a listening ear?
Now, this is a crisis that we are losing. There is nothing we are gaining in this crisis as Cameroonians. It has made life difficult for us, and we talk to the separatists, but they have a cause they are fighting for which cannot be neglected. Mr. Leo, if you see a young man, even in ignorance, who carry a gun to die for a cause, even if he is ignorant, respect his opinion. Because I myself, I cannot do that. I cannot take a gun to die for a cause. So these people, they have a cause, they have a problem that has been neglected by the competent authorities. So the way forward that the political parties have suggested to the regime in power, they have given a deaf ear to it. Remember when this crisis started?
Because the fighters have a cause, so you are afraid to talk to them because they're carrying on.
We are talking to them.
That what?
Nobody has to die. There is a way out of this crisis.
Okay.
There is a way out, and the way out is dialogue. Now, the topic of today's program was who is resisting the call to the end of this crisis. But now, from all statistics, all facts are pointing a finger to the both parties, but one only react as a result of the action of others. We are seeing provocative actions every day and insincerity of the government. Let's talk about those in the DDR. Now, this was a commission that was created by the government, headed by a member of the government.
The former governor.
Former governor. For me, that was just another forum created to compensate a faithful servant. Because how can you be heading a commission where the government is spending taxpayers' money to run that commission, and yet you are begging the boys to come out of the bushes and go to the DDR, and yet those in the DDR are dying of hunger, they are starving? What image are you portraying to the Cameroonians? That is bad faith, and we all have seen that. What else do you want Cameroonians to say?
Okay, so everything lies the government not trying to see into it that they engage the separatists. The separatists are their saints. The separatists are saints?
No, nobody is a saint, and nobody is a demon. Nobody is a saint in this crisis, and nobody is a demon. You see, all we should pray is to see that one day reasoning should prevail. Because anybody who likes violence is against reasoning. Anybody who likes violence does not want reasoning. Because reasoning is where all issues can be discussed for the benefit of the country. So if you see anybody for violence, is against reasoning. So I think he's not support of reasoning. I think we should pray that reasoning should prevail. Okay,
we are looking at those who are pulling the strings. The international community. Once there is a killing in Garbu, we heard condemnations. We saw the cases of decapitations and killings across the northwest and southwest regions. All the AU, the Francophonie, the UK, the US, all they do is condemn. Do you think they are still looking for that joker, the key? We have seen resolutions from the European Parliament, from the US Senate, Congress. But it ends
I want to go over to our political parties first.
Okay.
I belong to the SDF party. And when the Grand National Dialogue was called, my chairman was there in the hall. He presented the stand of the party, which the government has dumped into the dustbin of history. They have not tampered with any iota of any of his proposals.
What was his proposal?
One, a federal structure, which the government has abandoned. And under federal structure, he said there should be 2 state federation, as it was previously before 1972. This one the government rejected. Other political parties belong to the presidential majority. So they were just dancing to the whims and caprices of the government.
Like the PAP?
That is
No, I don't think the PAP is part of the
overstatement.
presidential majority.
You say all.
No, I say no. People like UNDP, people like UNDP. No, PAP is not. UNDP, ANDP, and the rest. So in Cameroon, when you talk about political parties, you see how the incompatibles are becoming compatibles. The impalatables are becoming palatables. The incongruities are becoming congruous. Why? Because of belly politics, the politics of the stomach. Everybody is fighting to go and mass, grab, and steal illegal wealth because there's no probity and accountability in the system. If you last presidential election, how many political parties gave their vote to the CPDM? At the end of the election, they said all their militants should vote the CPDM because they won position. Now comes to the international community. The United Nations, the European Union, the African Union, the Commonwealth, the Francophonie, international NGOs, they have all come. Even the papacy, have all come. Even just some few weeks ago, the envoy of the Pope was here, and he told President Biya that dialogue with these people. He told him dialogue with these people. At the same time, he told the Amber Boys that they should lay down their arms. He said dialogue with these people, at the same time the Amber Boys should lay down their arms. Now, all these people are ambassadors of peace. They only came to see that peace should prevail in Cameroon because Cameroon is the last country that everybody thought we are going to witness this type of thing because we are a peaceful country within the African subcontinent. Cameroon can be referred in those days as a peaceful country within the African subcontinent. But today, things have deteriorated beyond redemption, beyond control. And that's why these people are coming in now to talk about how this matter can be resolved.
But can they go beyond just making declarations?
No, they cannot use force because Cameroon is a sovereign country. Cameroon is a sovereign country, and the non-intervention is part of international politics. There are reasons why you can intervene. There are laid down like what happened in Bosnia and Herzegovina when there was genocide, there was ethnic cleansing. It was established that there was genocide, ethnic cleansing. The United Nations have to come in now. They don't need to seek the attention of the Bosnian government. You see, so that is how it will be. They don't have that power to directly intervene into the internal affairs of Cameroon without first talking, discussing, and propose solutions, suggestions to the government as to how this matter can be brought to an end. But it's only when the government has refused and the Amber Boys too are not. I don't know whether they have ever met any Amber Boy. All these international guys who have come, I don't know whether they have even met any Amber boys or their representative abroad or those.
Yeah, but must meet them here. The leaders are out there. Why not just discuss with them?
No, the leaders alone are not sufficient. The leaders alone are not sufficient. If they release social quota here, that the democracy will end, it will not end. Because those in the bushes have their own grievances.
Yeah, but these diplomats, when they come to Cameroon, do they meet everybody? They talk with the president of the republic.
But that's it. But again, why don't they talk with some representative of the Amber Boys so that to know the background history of why they are fighting this war? Why?
They should meet the Amber Boys where? Along the Bafut Womb Road?
No. There must be a meeting point now. There must be a meeting point to discuss this issue. Okay, the war between Ethiopia and Eritrea. There's a meeting point. They meet and talk. The war with Sudan and mainland Sudan and South Sudan. They were supposed to meet and discuss the issue.
Yeah, but the leaders were meeting.
Hey.
And not the
But the representatives were there with the leaders too to discuss the issues.
You want Amber Boys to do it.
Arrest those guys.
But they have their leaders now.
Mr. Joe, I think technically I would disagree with Pastor mine because to say that these set of envoys don't meet with the separatists is I think is a fallacy that history generalization. If you look at the resolutions that have come out, it's a clear proof that they discuss with these people. they will tell you that the history of this, that, the government have done this, that, the government have done this, that. Where are those facts coming from if they have not been having a discussion? Remember that they don't have that legitimacy to directly come and tell you I've been talking to these people. They are going against the treaty they signed with Cameroon government from a political perspective. But however, they have a backdoor channel that they talk with these persons. Remember, they will tell you we have spoken with stakeholders, we have spoken with opinion leaders, we have spoken with right organizations, we have spoken with this, we have spoken with that. When the Gabo incident came out from the Human Rights Watch, it was a clear evidence that they spoke. But you will not expect them to come and say, hey, we spoke with Mark Barata, we spoke with Tapang Ivo, we spoke with General Above the Law, we spoke with General this. No. Every emissary that comes to Cameroon is coming under the security of the Cameroon government. And you will not expect the security of the Cameroon government to go and say, okay, I want to go and meet those people in the bushes. Therefore, you are going against the treaty, the peace treaty you signed with Cameroon. We must be clear. Let's keep aside emotions. These are international policies. However, they have ambassadors in Cameroon. They have others ambassadors. They have missions that they send to Cameroon. They have secret service that they send to Cameroon. They have people whom they have implanted in Cameroon that give the up-to-date information. They have the local media like My Media Prime that deliberate on issues like this, and they get first-hand information. That's why you see the local media in every nation is very important, because before a resolution comes, they will tell you, we have watched the local media. The first thing the embassies they do is that they watch the local media. What's the local media saying about the company in Cameroon? From the local media they get their report. From the ground they get their report. From the government now they get their report, and they strike a balance. That's how it's done. To say that all these people come to Cameroon, they don't talk with these agitators, is not true. It's not true. You will not expect them to come and do a press conference that we spoke. If you are President Biya and I come and tell you, like the Grandmaster came to Cameroon a while ago and come and tell you that, hey, I spoke with the Amber boys in the bush and they said that, how will you feel? If you are going against the norms that bind into states.
Okay,
Okay, so if you look at it, we've had all the bodies in the world we have had in Cameroon. We have had the two spiritual bodies, we have the Pope and the Grandmaster. We have had everybody in Cameroon.
Yeah, but despite all of this, it is still reported that the crisis in Cameroon is one of the most neglected.
It's the most neglected because all these countries that are to intervene, they don't have that interest that at stake. First of all, Cameroon is a strategic force in the fight against Boko Haram insurgency. It's like Idris Deby in Chad. Idris Deby is seeking for a 6 mandate, and the people are rioting, but the international community is quiet. Why? Because Idris Deby is the #1 fighter of Boko Haram insurgency and insurgency around Africa. So the #1 policy they feel like it is at stake is that they want terrorism to stop. At the end of the day, what interest would America have in Cameroon? If Cameroon was a strategic force for America, they would have intervened things as they have been doing in other nations. Look at how many wars have existed. Look at what's happening in Myanmar. America just recently imposed sanctions on military leaders and is declaring that this should happen because they have that their interests at risk. What interest of the French is at risk? French is a member of the Security Council, and America is an ally to France. Where you expect America to go against the ally? No.
My question is, all of them. Let's take the latest arrival to Cameroon of the representative of the Pope. He made a plea to the government and to the Amber Boys. Yes, but this is not the first time similar pleas. Even when the U.S. resolution was done, they called on Cameroon government and the armed separatists not to violate the rights of citizens. Consistently, this call has been made to both sides. What is happening that nobody wants to heed to? This call, take for example, the Secretary General of the United Nations. At the onset of the COVID-19, he called for a ceasefire. Nobody wants to listen to what's happening.
Mr. Leo, you see, we are fighting an asymmetric war. Yes. An unconventional war, which in reality is not a war. The reason I say so is because it seems as if it is an internal quarrel in relation to most of these international bodies, because when we mention the idea of our parliamentarians and our senators, There's no day that our senators or our parliamentarians have ever lifted up their voice to make a statement concerning it that would have provoked even those diplomats who think that there's a problem. They have never spoken about it, which means that it is not a problem. Then, when you also come now looking at it, the way the executive is handling it, the executive is handling it like it is a small crisis around the quarter. And as long as that is happening, what do you expect the international body to do? They will look at it like nothing. You see the number of deaths that are counted every day. But before the main, the international community, they are not seeing any dead people. We have a certain number that will be given to. What do you mean by they are not seeing any dead people? Three chiefs were recently killed three chiefs were killed in Libya. Yes, those are just three chiefs. The case of Ndu. Is it really possible to hide such cases? Mr. Leo, should three chiefs call the international body to come? No, that's not the issue. No, in addition to others. Yes, I'm not refusing. You see, when I'm talking, I'm trying to be objective. I don't want to follow the emotions behind it. Okay. When this international body that everybody is calling international body wants to actually get involved in a situation, like Jarvis pointed out, what is their interest behind that? Where is that nation located? Is there something there that they need? I mentioned one time on this platform that France already has interest in Cameroon. France is a major ally of the Republic du Cameroon. France is sitting in the Security Council. France is the friend to America. France is an ally to Britain. Is China and Russia, who are members of the United Nations Security Council, are they not friends to Cameroon? You see, that is the thing. China, Russia are all friends to Cameroon. So when you sit and you want to interfere in issues in Cameroon, you have a lot that you need to go through before you enter Cameroon. So it's a web. Yes. So these people can access Cameroon. And that is where we have an issue. And what we have as a problem will not be welcomed by the international body. I will always say this. It is not them that will solve the problem because they are the ones that created it. We have waited for them to come and solve it, but the one that we should keep on dying. I think if Africans are wise, we should come out. Let us go back to our moral values and start asking, when I raise a gun against my brother and shoot him, does that reflect who I am internally? It is not us. So we can sit around the table and deal with this issue as individuals. When I say international body, we are not refusing that other African nations should not step in. The African Union was supposed to have been the main player to solve this problem. But look at it. The African Union is a sub of the European Union. It is controlled by the European Union. When I say sub, it's because they are the ones who are actually sponsoring it. And when you even go and look at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, who are those who are building it? It's China. China is the main sponsor. Europe is practically having a seat inside the African Union. That gives you a perspective that if you are expecting that the African Union should involve in this Cameroon affair, then you are wasting your time. Okay. So we are now looking at it. How do we deal with it? That is why we must keep on calling onto the conscience of our leaders. Because to me, Mr. Leo, I will hardly talk and want to refer to the Amber boys that they should bring solution. They will not bring solution because their interest is to cause the whole place ungovernable. And so I am pointing at the arm. I'm looking at the arm that has the power, that can say, okay, let us do something about this issue. I believe that if Mr. Biya, who is the president of this Cameroon, stands up today and say, okay, let there be ceasefire, let's sit down and talk, that thing will end.
Definitely.
But why is it not possible? Why is it so difficult? Is it like the information that is reaching the president is different from what we are experiencing on the ground? There's something definitely wrong. And to me, Mr. Leo, I want to still say it is time for our government, for Cameroon government, to make sure that this thing ends, because we have already lost a lot of lives. We are seeing this with tears in our eyes, because those 3 chiefs that died, the other young people that were killed, those are lives that would have added to the development of Cameroon, to make Cameroon better. And we allow them to keep dying. So please,
to make Cameroon great again.
Great again. Let Cameroon government, let the president stop this war and deal with it once and for all.
Mr. Innocent, how do we turn things around? We all are clamoring for peace to return, for lives to be saved, for property to be saved. How do we turn the situation around?
The truth is that the Cameroon government is still a legitimate power, we know. And we look up to them for solutions. Like my co-panelist just said,
Professor Mark,
he said, we cannot turn to the Amber Boys for solution. Except the government would declare that they have lost legitimacy over this territory, then we go to them for solution. We are looking up to the government for solution. So we keep on knocking on their doors and plaguing on their consciences to hear the cry of the poor masses, to hear the cry of Cameroonians, and call for an all-inclusive dialogue without preconditions, in a neutral ground and with a third party to mediate the implementation.
Are these not conditions you're already posing?
They are preconditions, they are giving conditions.
No.
You are giving conditions.
That is the way forward. Without that,
so with a precondition, with a precondition at any level. That's
I guessed that is the way forward.
Yeah, no.
If you turn things around, join them in beating the drum, We are looking for a long-lasting solution.
We need a venue, a third party, because preconditions.
Because that is where there will be a genuine dialogue. That is where a genuine dialogue will take place, where everybody will be free.
Which means the dialogues, there must be preconditions. And the precondition is that
it must be a third party in a neutral venue.
Those are preconditions.
The precondition should be acceptable by both parties.
Exactly.
How can you mediate a crisis? How can both of us be in a crisis and you want to mediate? Does that make sense? It doesn't. So there is need for a third party to mediate this crisis, so that the third party will supervise the implementation of the resolution of this dialogue. Then that will be an ultimate solution to the Anglophone crisis.
Okay, a third party is needed but you say the legitimate person who should solve this problem is the Cameroon government.
Yes.
And but you are still giving conditions to the legitimate powers. How do we stop this crisis?
No,
it's quite complex. It's quite complex.
The president should come and tell us that in this crisis there's no victor, there's no vanquish, there's no winner, there's no loser. Let's see ourselves as brothers keepers. Let's see ourselves as Cameroonians. Let us come together and let us listen to each other. The one that we can solve in the interim, we solve. The one that we cannot solve in the interim, we postpone. We postpone. But God, I'm just believing that force is the ultimate end to this crisis. I think, even if they kill 10 Amber Boys today, 40 will come in. And it will continue at infinitum. So what I was saying is that let some positive action be taken on the part of the government to declare, as Gawan declared Nigeria when Biafra was defeated, no victor, no vanquish. Nigeria is one and united. That was all. Biafra, nobody should see Biafra as anything.
There are still agitations in Nigeria today.
Yeah, Biafra are still making noise, but it's empty noise. So what we are saying is that it's empty noise. What we are saying is that let the president come out and take a bold step. He's the one to set the ball rolling. If the president today come and make a bold step, or the National Assembly has seen it, they start talking about this issue, I think even your heart, even you have a stone heart, it will start melt. And solution maybe arrive at.
Okay, there is this issue of preconditions, and almost everybody is still on it, understanding its grounds. I don't know whether anybody has shifted positions, but to note that for a solution to be arrived at, there is need for both sides to shift ground and make compromises.
The Cameroon government, let's be honest here, has actually shifted their ground a bit to a certain level. Let's be honest. I know the politicians will disagree with me, but they have shifted their ground. In 2016, we heard they all rejected that there was no Anglophone problem. In the ministerial ad hoc committee headed by Paul Migot Gogomo and the same ministerial committee that was holding for the lawyers in Yaoundé, the government had one position. But as things went on, the government, President Pobia himself came out and said, yes, I acknowledge that there is a problem, I acknowledge that this is happening, and in the nearest future we'll look for ways to resolve it. Now, at that point in time, we're still at effective decentralization. In concept, the politicians can disagree with me, but I'm giving facts. Now, the president again came out with Mo Ibrahim and said yes, and did a confession that we wanted to assimilate them, but we saw that is not going, so that's why we are proposing a certain level. We are proposing. Now the government a bit shifted ground and went out to the Grand Measure National Dialogue and said that, okay, let's have this Grand Measure National Dialogue and see how it can resolve the conflict. Though it may not and will not resolve the conflict from a conflict resolution perspective, but at least there was that certain fear that you see that the government is struggling to see where they can resolve it in their own perspective. You will not blame them. In their own perspective. The next issue is that the government now came and brought accelerated decentralization because we were still at decentralization. But now the government has brought in accelerated decentralization. Yes, they have shifted their grounds. Because we're talking about decentralization now, yeah, everywhere is accelerated, effective, and so now they have shifted their grounds.
In their interests.
I'm not saying the separatists or political parties. Now the separatists, since when this conflict is started, it is either independent or nothing else. It is either independent or nothing else.
From the onset, it wasn't so.
Excuse me. I said the separatists. I'm not saying the federalists. I'm saying the separatists, not the federalists. The federalists have actually shifted the ground from 2-state federation to 4-state or 10-state federation. At least you are seeing that people are shifting their ground from 2-state, 4-state, 10-state. We are hearing 10-state. So you will not blame them. Now the problem now is the politicians, the satellite political parties in Anglophone, they are helping the separatists to maintain their grounds. Let's be clear. You will hear political parties, chairmen of political parties, gratifying and glorifying the positions of the non-state armed groups. But these are the same people who want to become president of the of United and One Indivisible Cameroon. And you ask yourself, if they are to rule Cameroon in that perspective that they are standing now, will this Cameroon stand as one and indivisible? The same people who are clamoring that they want to be president of this country, they are the person embodying these people not to shift their position. If you hear the way they talk and you do a content analysis of their statement, you will hear they will use phrases like Republic, you hear they will use phrases like we let's respect the conviction of these boys, you hear they will use phrases like these boys, you cannot blame them. You hear, I'm saying if you do a content analysis of their speeches, it gives you that perspective, and it gives that perspective to understand that these same people are not political parties, but they are activists. I'm not refusing that they should not be activists.
Your perspective is...
I know it's my perspective. I am not talking from an emotional perspective. Excuse me, sir.
Are you people guilty?
No, I'm not guilty.
When you were talking, everybody listen now.
No.
I'm saying we do a content analysis in their speeches.
Why are you people bullying this man?
That's what people are doing. Let me land, please. I'm concluding. Let me conclude, please. Let me conclude. The bottom line is that, Mr. You ask yourself, how many of these same satellite political parties have come together as a team and advocate for this conflict to come to an end? They advocate for one party to go for 2018. But when it comes to Anglophone crisis, this person is saying his own, this person is saying his own, and you see they will tell their national parties, they are not national parties. If we, the international community, must react effectively, SDF, PAP, KPP, CPP, all the PP and the PRM, and they all must come together as a force and stand as one, because they have the mandate of the people, and stand together and say, hey, rather than PAP using the Amber rhetoric and CBDM using the government rhetoric, SDF using the federalist rhetoric, and you see that everybody is talking to their audience. They're not talking to Cameroon.
Is that not where the problem is? Because seemingly there are persons who have not shifted grounds. Almost everybody. It comes back to this issue of I am always right. Nobody wants to shift grounds.
That's the
You
problem.
correct.
That one I am fully with
correct.
him on
That
that.
one, you're correct.
The truth is that people don't want to see into. I'm trying to sit at times and ask those of us who say we have political parties whom we really want to see the problem end. What are we doing? Is it just the talking? Because not the talking that solves the problem. I think that the political parties should have come together in one way or the other and made a strong point and position.
Forget about taking power in your own.
No, the power is not the issue. If people are going to actually follow them, let them solve the problems that are on the ground. That's where what can they do to solve the problem? And they should do it as one body, not as divided bodies. Because you see this one today will talk, the next person will talk this own, this one will talk his own. At the end of the day, we are not going anywhere. Why I intervene in this man's problem? Because I believe that they are, for example, when you use the word La Republic, we are in a bilingual country. If I say in Cameroon, Republic of Cameroon is still the same thing as La Republic of Cameroon.
But you are speaking English now.
Whether I speak English or I speak French, I use
call
both
it
words. I can use it anyhow. No, I'm not saying you are talking to me. I'm simply saying that you should not use a general statement like that because
I'm talking about content, analyzing the speeches of these people. When you are speaking in English, you say the Republic of Cameroon is normal. But in the context of La Republique, in this context of the world that we are talking about, you are referring to one entity, and that one entity is you are making the other party to be glorified. That hey, you see, we are telling you. So, but if you use the Republic of Cameroon, I'm talking for me.
No. Yeah, go on.
Well, okay. That notwithstanding, my position is clear. I believe that, Mr. Leo, if these so many parties that we have, if they come together and stand as one, they'll have a stronger voice than what they have right now. Because there's so many divided opinions and divided positions does not help the people of Cameroon. And let's say in this the Northwest and Southwest, how many political leaders are coming from that direction? We count them, we can count some of them. Why can't they first of all unite themselves and see how they can work together? Have they been able to do that? No. Each person wants his own position. I'm working towards power. That is not the way it's going to come. If we cannot see in you people the ability to work together, we will believe that at the end of the day, if we follow a particular party, we will end up in the road. So that's why so many people prefer to queue behind the ruling party, because it seems as if it's stronger. And so many political parties have not shown a strong position. And so, Mr. Leo, as long as I'm concerned, if this problem is supposed to be solved, there's just one way. And that one way, as I said, let the president of this country step out and say, let us cease fire. Cease fire, let's sit and talk. So I know when I say like a family, some people will say we are not a family, because people have their mindset. The way they sat and talked and decided to
Can we
unite,
take a short break, please?
they can still do it.
Can we just get a short break? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Leo. As I was saying, I said, as long as I'm concerned, the way out of this problem from where I'm standing and looking is not when the Amber boys say, okay, we must win the war, or the government says we must win the war. It is time for the president to step out, call for a ceasefire, and then tell the people as a family we need to sit down and discuss. The same way that we sat at the beginning before the two entities came together to form this nation state called Cameroon. We need to go back and sit and talk And when we sit this time to talk, we should talk and solve the problems that are creating this one right now. When I talk of problems, the problems are many, but there is a root cause to it. And if this root cause could be dealt with at that sitting table, then I will believe that in the next 100, 200 years, there will not be any issue of fighting. And like I said in a sister platform, this idea of let us live together, and we are living together and not eating together, is one of the problems also. We need to be able to make things categorical. You don't eat and then you say I should leave. Share the food. Let everybody eat together. As long as the economic situation of a particular group of people is well managed and that of the other seems to be neglected, the people will suffer. And some people will get angry and react. So I think it is time for the Cameroon government to realize that the problem we are facing is deep and has economics attached behind. So the economic problem needs to be handled from within. And when it is done, I am sure that if we are living together, we will not cry that I am not eating well, I am being marginalized, because the so much talking of marginalization is because of the resources that are being exploited and the people are not enjoying the benefits from it. And so those things need also to be dealt with. And when that is done, certainly Cameroon will be a place where everybody will enjoy to live in, where there is peace and where there is much joy. But apart from that, if we say we are sitting on the table and we cannot talk true, speak the truth, we will still come back, and some years after, this thing will come back again. So yes, it's good to deal with it once and for all.
It's true, as some people will say, it's a strategy. It's also the divisions in the ranks of the separatists, but also compounding issues. For example, I remember when it was announced that the government was opening talks with Ayuktabe in Yaoundé, we saw the reaction of members of the IG who said whatever is discussed with Ayuktabe, it is his own business. They will not recognize any such discussions. And we also remember that when the Swiss talks were on, or I don't know whether they were preliminary talks, a group, the IG inclusive, were going to Swiss, but the Ayabacho Kam said they do not recognize that. Yes. Is that not also a possible source of confusion as to how to move the conflicts to another level?
Mr. Liu, they say it's a strategy.
Mr. Liu,
it's a strategy.
They say it is a strategy.
Strategy of,
in order not to. In fact, they say the government can bribe a particular group of persons. So if they have one leader, then that person can be bought over. But when there are so many leaders...
Yeah, but that's not the problem of the leaders. My problem is when the government met with Ayuktabe, IG did not recognize Ayuktabe. They say whatever will come out of it, they will not recognize it. Now, the Swiss talks was a platform for almost everybody. And if you look at it, somebody like Abdul Karim has problems with others who do not believe in the Swiss talks. So how do you find a common ground where almost all the leaders will say we endorse this?
Mr. Liu, the international community has the power, the strength to sanction any party involved in whatever crisis anywhere in the world. Now, it is left for the power, it is left for the authorities, the legitimate authorities, to say no, we are calling for a sincere dialogue, and a mediator should come in who is the international community that has the capacity to sanction any party, no matter wherever they are located in the world. So that is the way forward.
Yeah, but the Swiss are not Cameroonian now. They are out of the country now.
But the Cameroon government did not welcome the Swiss talks.
No. I'm not looking at the Cameroon government here. I'm saying that the Swiss talks was an opportunity to tell the government that these guys are ready. But even amongst them, though the government did not give in, there are factions that still said till date that they will never endorse anything called Swiss talk.
The truth is, no matter whatever we call it, the summary of the Anglophone crisis is fighting for better living conditions. And once the people accept that they are in a better state. Now they will reject all form of disorder. So the first is to put the people's interest first. Then the minority that will want to bring disorder will be neglected, and they will collaborate with the international community or the power being to bring them to justice.
I don't really understand that the parties who are actually into this conflict for separation, we have the IG, we have the ADF, we have Sukadef of this other guy.
We have the music of Blue Herbert.
Yes, but the question is, we have not seen them come under one platform to say, though we are working under different banners, but we are ready to engage in a discussion from a common platform.
Yeah, I think that is some of the contradiction and discrepancy affecting this the leadership struggle of Ambazonia. And I think if truly this issue has to be resolved, it has to first start with the Amber boys. The leadership with the Amber must come together, no matter the warring factions, whether the how many of them, let them come together among themselves. You come together, dialogue among themselves, discuss among themselves, and come up with a platform that they are going to present in the dialogue that is going to be presented by government or by any external arbiter. But as long as there is faction, there is division among them, it's a wasted effort. It's not going to materialize at all. So, but I feel that if they can group themselves as one, as a force, come out and talk the matter within themselves before coming out for any international dialogue or mediation, I think that will be in the best interest of the struggle. But if they say they are going to only be fighting, everybody is claiming right, everybody is claiming yes, your own faction, your own division is claiming, I think that one is going to, the struggle will continue ad infinitum. It will not come to an end, and there will be no solution to it.
Okay. Yes.
Again, I want to tell you that for this conflict to get a certain level of recognition or pressure, the political parties have a great role to play. If you look at the civil society organization, I think they've tried a bit. There was a point in time when they keep sending out memos and memos and memos, but we've not seen that robust action from political parties. Kawala Edith is acting on her own, in her own corner. PAP is acting on their own, in their own corner. Chairman John Fundi is acting with their party on their own corner. USDP of Prince Ekoso is acting on their communiques in their own corner. Senior Barrister Achu's party of the Reforms Party is there agitating and acting on their own corner. You see the kind of different messages that all these parties they are presenting, but you've not seen that coherent one message about it. Now, if all these parties can come together and say, okay, this is what we have to do, this is what we should do. They are more concerned with forming alliance for Mr. Biya to go. The problem of this country is not Mr. Biya. I think we are the problem. Because sometimes we feel like if Mr. Biya is not there, things will not, if Mr. Biya leaves, things will be better. But you see the same people who are criticizing Mr. Biya try just to condemn them, criticize them. The next minute, if it's not forces and they will use against you, you start asking yourself, this same person who criticizes the president every day, the president smiles, but you cannot criticize that same person. So the bottom line there here is that all these political parties sitting on this platform with SDF and PAP need to come together, add all themselves and say, okay, let's form an alliance. Write to the international community, sign all this memorandum and say this is what we need. Because at this point in time, they are a legitimate body that can talk on behalf of Cameroonians. They have representatives at the parliament. They have representatives at the Senate. SDF has members, they have members of parliament. CPDM has their own members of parliament, and some few political parties like PCRM, they have their own members of parliament. PAP that boycotted alongside Maurice Kamto that boycotted, they still have the legitimacy because they are a political party in Cameroon that they can talk on behalf of the people and say this is what we need and this is how it goes. Until then, we will still be dancing within the bottom line. I heard him talking about the fact that international community should come because they have the right, they should sanction, Before sanction is done, there's what we call standard operating procedures for all this international community for to do a sanction. You don't just go and do a sanction because you want to do a sanction. You look at the standard operating procedure. What does it take to sanction? Have you attained all these objectives that you have been laid down? 1, have you won? 2, have you contacted? 3, have you given time? 4, have you ensured that the war has moved to category 4 stage? 5, have you ensured that you have the both parties have no way of talking to themselves?
But
then you issue a sanction.
I don't know whether that was respected for Libya.
That was not respected for Libya because of the interest. I told you, Mr. Leo, that
Libya had oil.
I told you that Agbon and Bush talked about this, that is oil. That if these are not in our interest, but if they have oil, we intervene directly.
Since we don't have
oil, and we are not a threat. Cameroun, the conflict is not.
I've not taken messages since the program started. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please tell the panelists that no precondition is a no. It's a number 1 condition. Okay. Also, based on international principles with regards to conflicts, international intervention can only be possible when the affected country, based on its sovereignty, calls for one. Cameroon has made the international community know that they can handle the crisis. So international intervention is a no-go area now. The only way forward is for Cameroonians to take the bull by the horn. Tiku Felix is a regular panelist on the program. He's writing from Boya. Do you agree with him? We are going to end with the contribution.
Yeah, I agree with him. I agree with him because as we said earlier, that it's only the government that will play the vital role. We said it from the beginning.
Yeah, but if
you see, we said it.
Only the government. He talked about political parties, the civil society,
government. Let me tell you, from political parties, human rights group, civil liberty. There's intimidation. There's harassment. There's torture. Look, the way your colleague was killed here. He was up to nobody know why he was killed. That journalist was killed where. Nobody know why he was killed. We don't know what he did that he was killed. We don't know why he was killed. Nobody has told us. No, we don't know. Maybe because he spoke something that the government felt that is against his interest. They say anti-terrorism law. He was caught down. So you see, the government has the knife and the yam. They have all the machinery to impose, to use force on anything. So if whether political parties are talking, whether human rights groups are talking, as the professor said here, they are afraid of intimidation and harassment. So no matter how you talk hard, no matter, the government has the muscular power to suppress, oppress, and repress, and do everything to make sure that you don't talk. The political parties have done their best. They have spoken. They have reached to the international community. They have, and all what they have been saying. I'm surprised that Javi is saying that they are talking of different voices. But they have one agenda that be submitted.
Yeah, but they should come under one. What it means is that they should come under one umbrella. Yes. The news is good. Eta is writing from Boya. Eta one news now. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and all the panelists. Kudos for the interesting program. Please, it will be good to see the names of the panelists on the screen. Thanks. I was writing from Nimbe. I'm sure the names are always there. This one says, good evening to you. Good evening to Ta Ngam says, good evening, Mr. Liu. If the president can't stop the war, it's because the rest of the 8 regions are quiet. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. And panelists, it's time for the Anglophones to end what they started. Did they dialogue with the government before starting this mafia? Amber boys have no grievances as it stands. Now all they want is to cause havoc on their own borders. Don't forget the government is gaining nothing and losing almost nothing as well as us. Well, but Anglophones are melting. Quine Bless is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you all in the panel. The government have the knives and the yams. They are the ones resisting calls to end the crisis. But as long as to keep on delaying to end the war, God will end the crisis one day. And when God resolves the crisis, things will not be the same again. Fred Fang is writing from Mutengene. We have to end at this juncture of the program. I want to say Thank you to you, Suleiman, all the way from Kumba.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ali. The program was educating, entertaining, and informative. So I think we are very happy, and we feel that God bless Prime Hour.
Okay, and also thank you, Tamai Jarvis.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, and again thanks to all those who are on the panel. I want to say that in as much as the government have
you have spoken now, you have to talk again.
No, I'm just concluding. This is my closing statement now. In as much as the government have the knife and the yam, the political parties too do have the knife and the yam, as they did with freedom of multi-party politics. Chairman Anglophone single-handedly pressured the government alongside with others. So they should use that same force. And good evening to the Bishop of Boya Diocese, Michael Bibi.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure being on this platform. And for the last word, I would say, as I said earlier, there's just one way out. Let the president call for a ceasefire and talk with his children. Cameroonians will say he is not the father of this nation, like I also say he is the president, but in this sense, he's the one of the most eldest person that we have in Cameroon right now. So he can sit and talk with his people like he's talking with his children.
Okay. Special good evening to you too, Kmer. Is Samba watching us all the way from in South Africa? Glad to know that you're following the program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. In as much as we are Cameroonians, there is nobody who is more Cameroonian than the other. So we should fight as one body to restore our country. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to you too, Esther, watching us from Yaoundé. You've sent greetings. I'll extend greetings to Jarvis, extend greetings to Professor Mark, and everybody. They have received your greetings, and we want to say thank you to you, Desmond and Eli and Noel and Bertrand working at the broadcasting, and to you, Kaiser, Michelle, not forgetting the boss supervising what we are doing out here, Tabi, Tambe, Brian. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.